by Commissioner Perry.
Okay.
And Pledge of Allegiance given by Jenica Standard. So
Our dear Holy Father, we come before thee this time, grateful for the blessings that thou hast blessed us with and for the moisture that we've received. And we're grateful for the great people who work and reside here in Boxcar County. And we ask that thy spirit be with us this day during this commission meeting, that we can take care of the business of the people of Boxcar County, that we can be direct in the ways that we can protect and serve. And we ask a blessing upon those who are serving in various capacities throughout our county and assisting the citizens here, that they'll be blessed, and those who are serving in the military as well, that are keeping our country safe and free. And we ask a blessing upon those who are in need of health and strength at this time, that are under the weather, that they'll know that we care about them and desire to see them in our presence again. And we ask for these favors and blessings and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, you guys. Have you guys had a chance to look over the minutes from February 2nd on the 15th?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from.
I'll second it.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye. Administrative review reports, future agenda items. We need to take off the contract. It would be on 13C to another day. You want to just table that, right? Okay. Have you guys got anything to talk about or bring up or?
Probably our next meeting, we'll put something to do with emergency management and flood control issues.
Okay. Kate, I don't see any place on the agenda. Do you want to come up and talk to us about that now? Yes, please. We had the opportunity to go last week to Search and Rescue's banquet that was held out to the fairgrounds. And I stood in awe then, as much as I do now, of how many hours that these guys put in and the training that they do to keep us safe when they're called out. So if you think about ever helping Search and Rescue, and that's kind of a thankless job until you need them. So I'll turn the title over to Kate Palmer.
I'll just share Kate Palmer, Chief Deputy, Box Elder County Sheriff's Office. They have a year-end report for 2022, and I'll just share some statistics from that. They started the year with 7 life members and 27 active members. During the year, 1 active member resigned. So they ended the year with 7 life members and 26 active members. During the year, they held 12 meetings, and miles and time for the meetings are calculated to be 6,316 miles and 235 hours. And during the year, there were 21 training courses. There were additional trainings for the rope team, as well as county familiarization. And miles and time for training were 11,282 miles and 845 hours. During the year, there were 23 search and rescue callouts and many more efforts in the case involving Dylan Rounds, the missing boy out in the Lucin area. Involved over 19,506 miles and 797 hours of reported search and rescue time. Miles and time for the callouts are calculated to be 33,977 miles and 1,169 hours. During the year, there were 11 officer meetings held, and miles and time for those meetings were 1,205 miles and 81 hours. During the year, additional volunteer miles and hours for various activities and duties not mentioned were another 233 miles and 300 hours. Miles are calculated based on each member traveling that distance, whether they were riding solo or more than one in a vehicle. Miles may also include county or personal vehicles, UTVs, ATVs, or snowmobiles. Total miles for the year are calculated to be 53,158 miles and 2,554 hours. If the price per mile of 62.5 cents is used as taken from the IRS, the total cost in miles is $33,223. And if the average US wage of rescue workers is $20.95, the cost in hours is $53,506. The combined volunteer effort for miles and time is $86,729.
When we had this, I actually said it sounds like they've almost doubled from last year. So even without the Dylan Rounds case, so.
Yep, they have been busy.
they've
Well,
been
and
busy.
even the dollars and cents you're putting out are really low because we're not paying them anything on top of the fact that there's no benefits attached to it. So if you put $1 and cent for a full-time employee, it costs us a great deal more. I also wanted to point out that, let's see, it was Christian, Alan Christensen received his 25-year award, 25 years of serving our county, which is pretty impressive, and now qualifies as a lifetime member. And then I think there was one other that received a 5-year pin.
Yes.
It was Jake. Is that right? Jake
Yep.
Serter
He wasn't
Got
there.
a
Yeah.
wasn't there, who received his 5-year pin. So
That's another thing to keep in mind too. We have guys who've been on the team for 25 years, but we're calculating the dollars at a base entry level
Right.
position. So
very impressive.
very, very well experienced guys who have dedicated many years
I
to.
think I was impressed with all the new people coming in too,
Yes.
that were off of probation and things. I think that was the largest crew of that since I've been here in a decade. So
Yep, several new members
that was
and
pretty awesome.
new ones again for this year.
I want to point out that there was a husband and wife new team. That was, so it's not just
That's right.
men in our search and rescue. There are men and women both
That is correct.
that qualify. So that's great.
It was pretty awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You got any questions, Commissioner? Anything?
Nope, I agree. That's marvelous.
Thank you. Anything else you guys need to report on? Have you got anything, Commissioner?
No.
Somebody want to take and talk about, chamber dinner? We had over 500 people there. It was sold out on a Saturday. I could not believe the people. It's a good thing we built a great big building to put these people in. We would have had to split up into two.
Well, it was an amazing day. Our Chamber of Commerce, Boxer Chamber of Commerce held their awards dinner Friday night. Mike Whitaker from Whitaker Construction was the businessman of the year. He was one of the people who was instrumental in bringing the two chambers together, and has done some amazing things in our community, providing a lot of resources to a lot of people, not just in Box Elder County, but throughout the state of Utah as well. And then we had Scott Nelson from SNL, got the small business. Our own representative, Tom Peterson, had the home-based business award. Let's see, medium-sized business. For those who don't know, Peach City received the medium-sized business award. And then the large-sized business was Northrop Grumman. And then the Total Citizen of the Year award, couldn't have gone to anybody more deserving. Linda Baugh lives in Brigham City and has been involved in Youth City Council here for, I think they gave her credit for like 21 or 22 years, but I think she's been doing it much longer. And just phenomenal person who's been helping our youth in our community for years and years. So that's the awards that were given out this year at the Chamber Awards Banquet, and was for some really deserving people, which is really, and they all said the same thing. I don't deserve this as much as others. And so we have some great folks in this county.
So I'm just going to say the volunteerism in the county is amazing. We couldn't do anything we did without them. Mayor's over there shaking his head. He agrees with the whole thing. So, okay. ARPA funds. I think we're still kind of trying to decide. I know I had brought up a couple of things with some ARPA funds, but more of the LAPTCD EIEIO fund that, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about this now or not, but because of the increase in fuel and stuff, I know the senior centers are hurting really bad. Once again, I'm going to watch the mayor's head bounce up and down, but I would like to say that we should take $100,000 out of those LAPTC funds and split it up between the Brigham and Tremont senior centers, 60,000 for Brigham City and 40,000 for Tremont. So I don't know what you guys think. We can talk about it. And those are the unrestricted, basically funds we can use for anything except for lobbying in DC, right? So lobbying at all. So
I'd kind of like to research a little bit. I'm not terribly familiar. Could we put it on the next agenda for our next meeting?
Well, we can you can research it, do what you want to do and talk to the mayor and Derek, and those guys can tell you how short they are in Brigham City.
At one point, we need to have a public hearing and have a budget. of how we
Yeah.
want to spend it.
Well, we've already spent something out of it, so that's what I'm just saying. So. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we can put it on the next meeting if you guys want to go through it to the next meeting. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about with ARPA? Okay, no emergency management issues, or you're going to come up and talk? Mark?
Mark Millett, County Emergency Manager. I just needing a signature on this agreement with the state of Utah Division of Emergency Management with the regarding the Special Needs Registry. And this has been a program that's been in place for a lot of years. It was revamped and kind of updated with some newer technology and capability, but it's a registry that we try to recruit folks who have special needs within our community, maybe hearing impaired, sight impaired, mobility impaired, require electricity for medical devices and so forth that can be on this registry. It's a very secured registry. That's why the agreements between us and the state because of personal information and so forth. But it allows us as emergency managers in our disaster planning and then emergency response. If we've got a map, we've got an active fire coming into a community, we can pull up this information and see who we may have folks that have special needs that we might
Actually have to go.
arrange to make some special efforts for or something like that. So we just need to have a signature from the commission.
Have you talked to the local jurisdictions with, I know we did it with the stake and the wards. We actually went through the stake and the wards and did the same thing.
Well, that'll be part of the
Okay.
plan as we work that piece, some coordination going on with and helping a lot of those entities within our communities that are doing planning right now. So that'll be part of that.
That would be great. So I'd entertain a motion to have that signed.
Make a motion to sign the Special Needs Registry Agreement 23-10.
I'll second it.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there another agenda item regarding a letter courthouse? I thought that was today's agenda as well.
I don't
See anything on here?
see anything, but that's emergency management issue.
Well, it's your call.
Yeah, no, I
just
think
sent-
we
I
were
sent the
going to
three of
talk
you
about it a little bit.
a letter
Yeah.
regarding some concerns that I've got. I mean, we talk, one of my processes is to
You need to come up a little bit or move the mic to you. Keith's
consider-
over there, but he'll give me the heads up. So
Okay. We need to consider what we call continuity of government, in a disaster. And if we ever get hit with an earthquake, one of the concerns is being able as county government to get back into business as soon as possible. One of the concerns that I've got, and it's connected with a informal survey or assessment I did with Tom Peterson years ago before when he was the facilities manager for the county. And we brought in an engineer from Jones and Associates and had a person from the state historic preservation board come up, and we took a look at this building. And as wonderful and as historic as it is, there's a significant vulnerability because of the seismic instability of portions of it. I know there's kind of 2 or 3 different pieces here with this. The problem we have is if we had an earthquake and a portion of this building or a bunch of it come down in the middle of the night or on a weekend, we're out of business for a little bit, but we can eventually restore the data and everything else that Keith and his folks work to store the electronic stuff off-site and so forth. The scarier scenario is if we ever had an earthquake during business hours, this thing comes down, we no longer have county government, And so as a county emergency manager, I just set that topic in front of the commission just to advise of that concern that I have. And I know it's never an easy thing to have to consider looking at bonding or whatever that you folks have to look at, but to consider building a better county administration building or acquiring a building that would meet that need so that we can ensure the safety of our public employees and the continuity of our county government. So that was the letter that I had submitted, and I'll just leave it in your hands to have that discussion and choose as to whether you want to move forward on that or not. But
So Mark, do you have evacuation protocol
Yeah.
now that's set that all of the employees recognize and understand?
Well, there is a culture that has been here for a long time. They know what, how to get out of the building if they can, right? If you get an earthquake, a lot of times it isn't more than just a few steps and you're done,
done.
right?
Yeah.
And so,
The reason I ask that is I've been in other buildings where they actually train on evacuation. And so depending on where you're at, where you're located, then they say, okay, if you're here on this floor in this office, you go this direction, you go this direction, and they actually practice that and keep people in front of people.
let me ask Jenica, I'm not sure, I thought we had some folks here within the building that had some focus on that, at least in the past. Is there anybody that knows that, Jenica?
So,
State your name.
Jenica Stander, risk
Thank you.
manager. So there are some evacuation plans. We don't have them for all buildings. We have an old one that is not
Okay.
the best. But we do have one team leader essentially per floor that's supposed to evacuate the building. And then as for evacuations, we need to have set establishments where they meet once evacuated.
Right.
So the risk manager starts next week on Monday. So we hope to get him working on that pretty quickly, probably in conjunction with Mark and Cody.
Okay, that'll be great. And then we'll just let Chrissy know when she wants to make lunch so we can actually do that to the building. Sorry, Chrissy. Anyway,
And in conjunction with that, it also addresses the audit that we had done by DHS earlier this year regarding just the access and security of the building in general. The audit was specific to voting security
Right.
processes, but it has to address the security of the building in general, which, because of the age and the nature layout, create some challenges. We know that Cody and his guys did a great job in helping with our COVID stuff, kind of put some barriers and stuff in there, but it doesn't stop the bad guys. So those are two factors that just, I think it's time we just, as a county, look at this.
I was in a board meeting last week and I think I talked to you about it with USIP. We are actually in what I'd say a pool, but we do pay for an historic building. So our rates are a little higher. So if something happened, and heaven forbid, something happened during business hours, like you said, but to actually rebuild this to historical levels, we're insured for that. So, which historical levels would be horsehair with plaster and, on the walls and stuff. But anyway, we're insured for that.
But the biggest concern is the people.
Yep.
That's our biggest concern is
And the
the
continuity of
employees and the
government.
people who come here and that are here in our building. We got to think about how to keep them safe. So, yeah.
And we had actually talked about this when you said that all suddenly the wheels came off the bus and inflation hit. And I just don't feel real good about trying to do a bond, and like I said, our employees, we might look at, we've been approached to buy some buildings on Main Street and do some other things too that, we could do. I know that the IT department's left the building, probably for that plain fact. And, we might have to talk about what do we do with the trailers, our emergency trailers and stuff, if that does happen, whose office is in which trailer and what we do. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, appreciate it.
that'd be great. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
And Marla reminded me, we're supposed to do that at 4:30 and then start our other thing at 4:45. That's what we get for not having Marla here. So thank you. Tara Roach. How are you?
Pretty good, and you?
Oh, we're here. Just come up and state your name, where you're from, and
Tara Roche, I'm with Box Elder Runs Strong.
Oh.
So I'm taking over for Susan Neidert. She's
Okay.
retiring from our little group. So we are just wanting to use the courthouse grounds again. This will be the third annual 5K that we run. And then we also have resource booths for our local nonprofits.
Okay.
So we just want to use it June 10th in the morning. around 7 o'clock for setup and then until about 2 o'clock. for
Just the
teardown.
grounds like usual, right? Cody, are you good? On that day? Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Saturday.
On Saturday.
Yeah, it's the second Saturday in June.
I will move that we allow the Box Elder Run Strong to use the courthouse grounds on June 10th.
Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, a second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Annie, do you want to come up and do that first and then we'll do the next one? Oh, yeah. Annie, come on down.
Annie Hansen with the Deputy County Attorney. We have employee handbook policy updates. Policy number 4, we recently were renewing some grants and we needed to update the language related to background checks with new employees. It doesn't require it of every department, but leaves it open that it's specific to the position. And so that's the change you should find in policy 4. Policy number 5 is the discipline policy. And in this one, we had a request to add a written warning in between the oral warning and the written reprimand, which is really common with the sheriff's office. And so we've added that new option in the progressive discipline where they can provide a written warning before they do the reprimand. Let's see, number 12. This one, we also had to update for grant reasons. This is the drug free workplace policy. And we needed to add a section where if an employee self-reports that they feel that they have a drug or alcohol problem before they fail a drug test or before there's a situation at work, if they self-report it, it makes it so that there's no negative impact to their job. It puts the county on notice so that they can help them by either providing time off or getting them in touch with the EAP. It's a required section that we were just missing from the policy, and that met the requirements of the grant. So just some standard
Okay.
updates.
You guys got any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a move that we update the employee handbook policy 4, 5, and 12.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye. And now we're gonna. Your name's on it. Don't be standing up. Sit here in case we have a question.
Question for me? For Steve. Steve's up there.
I can pass these to him. Thanks. I'm about called you Bishop. Thanks, Bishop. I don't think we've got something to put it on, so. I
know I emailed it to Annie. I could email it to you, Keith, if you wanted me to quickly.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
My turn.
Yep.
Derek Euler with Brigham City. I got Mayor Bott from Brigham City here with me. I have to back away from this thing.
You're fine.
So Brigham City is continuing to work on its, that thing is way loud, sorry, project with a bridge over the Forest Street rail crossing on Forest Street. And as part of that project, actually 2 weeks ago, I publicly disclosed a lot of these things in a Brigham City Council meeting. The American Way, so 9th West, is going to continue on underneath the overpass and connect over to 950 West. So the current 950 West connection to Forest Street with this project will be eliminated. The curvature of that road is something that we've been trying to get right. Brigham City is recently purchased. We did a land exchange with the county on one of the parcels, and we recently purchased another parcel, the 0065 parcel from Three Buildings LLC. And kind of the last part of that transaction was like to do a trade. And actually, this is going to be through the Brigham City RDA
Okay.
and Box Elder County. So it won't be Brigham City Corp. It'll be Brigham City RDA. and then Box Elder County. So land trade, we would ask the county commission to approve a trade of it's 0.054 acres to extend the curvature of that road of 9th West connection to 950 West, and we would trade 0.129 acres back from the Brigham City RDA to Box Elder County. The county would end up with a little bit more property, and that will keep the continuity and the flow of that road and keep the safety of the vehicle traffic on that roadway.
I think the only question I had would be, because it's totally fenced, so would you guys actually come in and take the fence down and put it back up, or what are we gonna do there? That would be the only,
I'm good with that. I mean, obviously, we're gonna have curb gutter, sidewalk,
I
park
was just gonna
strip,
say.
and then we'd need to put a new fence up. We tear down the existing one and put it right back up on the edge of the,
on the property.
wouldn't be on the,
Well,
I guess,
10
yeah,
or whatever, however many
whatever the
feet.
setback is.
The setback's right there, and I think it looks like it's 6 to 8 feet.
Yes.
That was my only question. And then that, and I understand, and realize then that would, because we're fenced on both ends,
Yeah, so we'd
That
need
would
to
be my
fence the
only-
other part too. I think we include that in the
on both S
contract.
curves. Okay,
This roadway, just for the commission's, and the public, this roadway construction would not happen until the bridge was completely done. So this would be one of the last things that we are doing. This area is going to be used for staging for the construction of the bridge. So this roadway would not be constructed until the bridge was up and probably operational.
which is
2025
I'll be
sometime.
gone by then. You guys can do this stuff. We're good.
I'm sure we'll forget by then.
Yeah, we'll put it in our
Okay.
contract documents. Annie or Steve, I'm fine with putting that in the exchange agreement. The city would be responsible to put the fencing back up.
Do you want something approved now? Because we still have to go through the process though, don't we? Don't we still have to go? Annie, where's Annie?
You have to send it over to planning.
That's, yeah. So we'll instruct to send them over to planning and then we'll go through that way.
Okay, we'll get a real estate purchase contract or exchange contract drafted like we did the last one.
Cool.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
thank you.
Thanks.
That it, Mayor? You're not even, that's not even gonna talk. Okay, fun.
Well, if you want me to.
Thanks,
I
you
will.
guys.
I don't know, did you know that we have a 2-time state wrestling champion grandmother in the audience?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Her daughter.
Oh, I did
Her
read that.
granddaughter.
The granddaughter, I did read that. That's
Sorry.
awesome.
It is,
Cool,
it's
cool.
totally awesome.
That is so cool.
So I wanted to bring that up.
Thanks. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for pointing that out. Sean Milne, come on down. We're about 4 minutes, well, 5 minutes, so cut you, I'm just kidding.
Well, the joke is deserved. Hey, Keith, do you have a HDMI? Can I connect it all to the monitors? Okay, well, fantastic. This is going to be even briefer than I was led to believe then.
A briefer, brief, we're good.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yes, I just got the hint. Stan says that's okay. I get what he means.
We're okay.
And that's good.
You got a handout?
As a recovering politician, you should never give one of us a microphone anyway.
Oh, we've already proved that today, huh, Chrissy?
Thanks.
So maybe,
Sean
sure.
Milne.
Is it, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you want me to state my name? I heard you stole this nice young lady earlier, so. Sean Milne, Bear River Association of Governments, or BRAG, Legislative Affairs and Economic Development. So what I've given you is just a real quick primer, a handout that's a few pages, and it's a random sampling of a lot of bills that either for you guys or generally speaking economic development or related efforts that have a statewide impact or any of the other counties within the Bear River Association of Governments that I'm tracking. I mentioned in the top page or top of the first page there, some of the regular meetings during the week, as long as the legislative session is going on, that I attend on your behalf, or again, on behalf of others with interest in the role that I have within BRAG. It is by no means a wholly comprehensive list. To put this in perspective, and it was part of my slide deck here, this legislative session, they have had the greatest amount of bills drafted than they've ever had. So well over 500 in the House and well over 200 in the Senate. Give or take, it's typical that you'll have 400 to 500 bills pass, which, you know, depending on your perspective, can be too many. And depending upon those whose bills that were drafted didn't pass, could be too few. And I would just, you know, give a nod to present company as someone who would know. It's a little too early to say whether or not this year will represent the greatest amount of bills passed. It's just right now, it's the greatest amount of bills they've at least had drafted. So what that gets to, and what Chairman Summers had asked me to kind of speak to, is just what the legislative process is. Now, I know many of you are likely already intimately aware of what that process looks like. So for the benefit of those that watch this recording later or who might be in the room, with that many bills passing, and as is typical, several key ones, usually if there's some expected controversy, it's not unexpected to see those drop in the final week. Without opining as to why that might be strategically planned by some, needless to say, it means that you have to have your eye on the ball throughout the whole, 6+ week period that the legislative session runs. So this year, the heavy topics that you were likely well aware of before it even got started were housing, water, and infrastructure. I've got here a graphic of just the tracking sheet that, again, nobody but me can see, for the League, UAC, the Utah Redevelopment Agency Association, just to show, the number of bills that sometimes have an awful lot of overlap, like a Venn diagram or the old MasterCard symbol. And sometimes the different groups, they'll be tracking some, more closely than other groups, but it'll either have a tangential impact here at the county or one of your member constituent cities or towns, or maybe your water improvement district or what have you. This county is fairly successful in its appropriation request, which no disrespect intended to Commissioner Lee as a former representative, but Stan Summers has been the chair of the Utah Association of Counties and in leadership for a number of years, and USAC, which is a subgroup of just county commissions, councils, and mayors for counties even before that. So as is the case, oftentimes running for those leadership positions is really great because you can see many more dots that are around the state and how to connect them to the benefit of your community. So I just want to give a hat tip to Commissioner Summers in that role, and how that continues to be a favor to this county.
But it was sure nice this year to send some over to Commissioner Perry to go talk on some bills, because I don't think some of the things we got done with Boys and Girls Club or something like that wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have had a former representative in the room. And when we start talking about how Box Elder and our Tri-County area, we did really well this year. It's not over yet.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it. And I don't like you putting that out to the
knock on
universe.
wood. But things look pretty good. So,
but Commissioner Summers, Chair Summers is correct to that point. And I think that the three of you with your unique experiences and representative perspectives are going to continue to be key to represent this great county at the legislature. And we just encourage all three of you, because you three have such varied backgrounds, to be engaged, increase your level of engagement, and realize the importance of you versus me. So as I noted, part of my label and function is intergovernmental affairs. There are times and places where that's great. It means I can be a proxy for your attendance in the room, but nobody really cares like they do when you show up, right? Like I'm not you, I'm not elected anymore. And I just don't have that perspective of representation, right? So when you show up and when you speak to a committee hearing, that matters more. And I would just encourage you, for whatever those perspectives are that you uniquely bring to this commission mix and represent for this county, that you be engaged. I'm happy to represent you and be present in a room, take copious notes and report back to you. But oftentimes, if you're not an elected and you're at the table, they don't really care the same. So
but you just brought it up. If we're not at the table, we're on the menu. So
yes.
A lot of times, if we're not getting to the point where our voices are being heard, they're basically going to railroad you. I think one of the biggest bills last year was with the film industry. It meant a lot to rural communities. And we did get a lot of help from our urban friends, but they still were just not going to pass it. And finally, in the waning days of the last hours of the last day, they passed it, and it's been a huge impact.
Yeah.
You know, to the rural communities. There was a hat making company that I think even Governor Cox talked about down in Santaquin or something.
Carl, Representative Albrecht talked
that's
about
right.
it when Governor Cox presented to the rural caucus. So again, like there are some of these seemingly superfluous meetings to attend, these caucus meetings. They'll typically either happen around the lunch hour, the morning before regular committee meetings get started, or even in the evening. But one of them that happens every Friday is called the Rural Caucus. Governor Cox showed up last week in a spiffy new hat, and Representative Albrecht, one of the chairs of that committee, he gave a hat tip, pun intended, to the fact that this Salina-based company
That's where it was.
has been known for making hats to many of us locals inside the Intermountain region for many, many decades. It's a family-run business, multiple generations. But because uniquely, Kevin,
Costner.
thank you so much. I can't believe I spaced out on that. But because Kevin Costner chose to film the first 3 seasons of Yellowstone inside Utah, he obviously kind of gave a nod to some of the Western wear and some of the set designs and things like that and those elements to Utah-focused families and businesses. Well, this particular Burn Saddlery, they benefited to the tune of $2 million in additional sales that they directly attribute to the fact that their product was featured in Yellowstone as a film production.
And now Kevin Costner has actually, sorry, the lights, if nobody's moving, the lights shut off. And
I thought that was the timer, which is going to be
It
really
could be.
appropriate.
And now that Kevin Costner's agreed to do, I think, 10 movies down in San Juan area, up to 10.
Yeah, up to
Yeah,
10
up to 10.
for sure. And he's, well, there's actually a great piece. If you guys are interested as much as Commissioner Summers is, I'm happy to share with you the Fox 13 piece that came out last night that features our film commissioner, Virginia Pierce, for the state, and my fellow co-chair of the Rural Utah Film Coalition, Kelly Stoll, down in Kane County. They did an excellent piece last night, and it's about the fact that there's a casting call for Kevin's second film that he's doing here in Utah. It just happens to be in southern Utah. And of course, this is all very important to us because we want to diversify our economy, right? So
We have had a couple movies here in Box Elder County. I don't know if Joan's here or not. We've had a couple Christmas movies done that anybody didn't know about, and it was a good thing for our economy. The second thing I wanted to bring up was of this year was the transportation bill.
yes, thank you, Commissioner. So without further ado, I had here on one of these screenshots several that I thought were important. And I know you're alluding to or referring to just outright SB 175.
Yep.
It's on its second substitute, and it's called the Rural Transportation Infrastructure Fund. Commissioner Summers, because I've probably already spoken in my monotone voice too much already, I can defer to you with just saying the highlight is $40 million in one-time funding
But it's not a
that will
second
be
substitute
competitive.
anymore.
What-
It's passed.
Fantastic.
Just so you know.
Thank you for derailing me, pun intended. And $7 million ongoing, but Commissioner Summers, go ahead and speak to that if you'd like.
Well, anyway, it's long story short, but this is kind of an appeasement of what happened during the Olympics where they took 5% of 15 counties' funds for 20 years to do roads. We got some of that back about 7 years ago, about 10% of what they actually owed us. This is another, basically, I would say, an apple to throw to us that will be continuous. So it's 40 million one-time funding and ongoing about 7 million, what did we say? 6.7, almost $7 million ongoing funding. So we just got the stuff today of how that will, I'll send that to you, Charlene. I just barely got that email. So, but that just goes to show what happens when UAC comes together. I don't think this bill would have passed. I mean, because there was some people that weren't together and it was struggling, but that bill passed and it's going to do a huge amount for rural communities to be able to do this. So, kudos to everybody. And Sean's there at every meeting talking about it. And if there's something weird, I get a text or to Lee or to Boyd and then we continue on down the road because like I said, if you're not at the table, you're at the menu. And I've learned that a lot since I've been here for a decade, that we've missed out on millions of dollars for not being attentive down at the session. So,
And I love that you use the word intentionally attentive because Box Elder quite literally almost got cut out of this.
Yep.
Because of the way that the if, ands, or buts that are conditionals in the way this legislation is written. And so again, I'm saying this, for those that watch the recording later or those in the room that may not know, by your level of engagement and involvement, and just being plugged in and, like you say, at the table rather than just thinking it's good enough to get the notes later. Like, because of that, we were able to influence collectively, but uniquely because of Box Elder and one other third-class county, uniquely to say, well, the way that's written, if not for just a couple of word changes, would exclude us from being able to utilize the competitive mechanism for this funding. So,
And that
kudos
just
to
goes
this
about
county for being-
relationships. I mean, honestly, when you've got the Speaker of the House or somebody like that that texts you and says, hey, you know, you need to get on this or something to that effect. So we've had the relationships and our abilities to continue to do this. But like I said, we've honestly with Sean and Lee and hopefully Boyd, you'll find out that if you spend enough time down there, it is well worth the county's time to go do these things. So anything else you'd like to say, Sean, before
Oh,
we?
plenty, but I think
Before we tell you thanks for, and if you got any questions.
yeah, I'm happy to address them, but I'm also just as happy to address them offline so that I don't tie up your
You've
commission
got his
meeting.
number, Commissioner,
I
right?
do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate the
Sean.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Be safe going home, will you?
It's just around the corner. I'll be fine.
It looks like Scott Lyons. I think you're up. And that was a shortened legislative update, so maybe we'll have you back again when it's over, Sean. When it's all said and done. Okay.
Okay, Scott Lyons, Community Development. So my first item is ordinance 574. It is a proposal to remove the MPC, which is the Master Plan Community Zone, from the Box Elder County Land Use Management Development Code. This was proposed by the Planning Commission. And anyway, so at their meeting in February, they held a public hearing and reviewed the code standards for doing a text amendment to remove something like this from the code. So as far as the master plan community zone, it's essentially a zone that allows for a variety of uses. It's basically a zone that's fully negotiated based on a development agreement. So it could have, in theory, it could have different types of residential. So single family, multifamily, apartment type stuff. Could have different types of commercial mixed in with that. That's what it should have, as well as open space, different things like that. And that's where the Planning Commission kind of had some heartburn with it, is the county doesn't have the infrastructure to accommodate multifamily development. The county, county doesn't own or operate sewer. The county doesn't have a parks department to maintain open space, different things like that.
Streetlights.
Lights, water system.
Water
Uh-huh.
systems.
Yeah. So a variety of things. So anyway, basically what the Planning Commission, when they reviewed this, their findings that they came to is that based on the county's general plan, it's that the development like that should take place
Inside the city
in
limits.
or near cities and towns that can provide those services, provide that infrastructure. So they found that the proposed removal of the MPC zone from the code is consistent with the county's general plan. And they held a public hearing at that meeting. There was no public comment regarding the proposal. And based on that, they forwarded a recommendation of approval to you as the county commission. So at this point, it would be your decision whether you want to approve or deny ordinance 574, which would remove that MPC.
And you
zone.
might want to talk about kind of how the cities have come to us with all the things that are going on around them and would like to basically work better with us in these areas that these things are coming in, so they're not on an island.
Yeah, so that's kind of and earlier this year we had another ordinance that was adopted that addressed we're calling it like an annexation policy. So if there is development within a city's annexation, cities are supposed to have an annexation area, a boundary around their city that says this is where we plan to grow. In theory, they would have a plan as well that would say this is how we plan to grow or would like to grow or envision our future within that area. So that annexation policy would, to some extent, these are all just a variety of things. Our general plan was adopted like a year ago in January, I believe. And so these are all things of now we take that the vision that we went through to create that plan and kind of take baby steps to implement it. So Box Elder County looks like the vision in 20 years. So this is, that annexation policy of coordinating with cities and towns regarding development within their annexation areas, of, eliminating something like this zone from our zoning code, so that it can take place in those cities and towns and not, out in the county where it isn't really, can't really be accommodated due to a lack of infrastructure. These are just the baby steps of working towards the end vision of the general plan and, what the residents of Box Elder County envision the county looking like. And
These guys did a great job. We haven't updated our general plan since 97. And we
it
did
was
it
98, yeah.
97, 98. So these guys did it. We did a couple of the things kind of that helped us not be so expensive. We did a transportation plan and what other things did we do that didn't cost us so much? Because if we would have bid it all off at one time, it would have been $500,000 or more to get it done. And so some of those other things we'd already had in place, and then we just covered it in with everything else. So
yep.
We appreciate that. If you guys got any comments, questions?
No, I agree with it. You ready for a motion?
Yep, I'm ready for motion.
I make a motion and we approve ordinance 574 to remove the MPC zone from Box Elder County Land Use Management and Development Code.
Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, a second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Thanks, Scott.
Okay, next item is regarding the Corridor Preservation Fund. So state code states that the county legislative body is supposed to approve a priority list annually. So the 2023 priority list, this was adopted by the COG at their meeting on January 9th, 2023. And the draft of that should have been sent in your electronic packet. It just lists, essentially it lists out, in order for the county or a city or a town within the county to be eligible for funding from the Corridor Preservation Fund, that project has to be on this list. And so you kind of, the way it's listed out is funding is separated in two pots. One's for corridor preservation, one's for construction and maintenance, and any city or town, they would provide a list of projects to us, and we would add it to that list and then present that list to the COG and then ultimately to you for approval. So the list that you have is the one that was approved by the COG and is the final proposed list for 2023.
So this is another example of being engaged on corridor preservation funds. Me and Scott were relatively new in a meeting that they had, and they were talking about corridor preservation, and we both stayed after and said, so what is that? And is Box Elder participating? So they looked up, said we had at the time, I think $9 million in the fund, but they said, you guys have never put together a COG to be able to spend it legally to match up with the legislation. So then Scott started doing all the heavy lifting, and we went on to be able to do the COG, and then come to find out in the first 2 years, if they would have put this COG together, they had matching funding. So we missed out on almost $2 million of funding in the corridor preservation. And then was it 2 years after we got everything going, we went back in and ran some legislation to actually get corridor preservation and road preservation funding in that arena. So, I mean, Honeyville built that little thing around the corner. We've, filled potholes in Perry, and we've done 12th West with the corridor. We've done a bunch of stuff in Tremont. The largest one I think we've done outside of maybe a big city was the one up in Portage, where we really did Portage Lane. So this has been a great thing.
I would agree.
So if you got any questions about accepting that list, the priority list for 2023, if not, I need a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the Box Elder County Local Transportation Corridor Preservation Fund 2023 priority list.
I'll second it.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the next item is a request for payment, so essentially a reimbursement based on one of those projects. So it is a project from 2019. We have it listed as CPF 19-03. It's an application from Perry City for acquisition along Maddox Lane. And the request is for $29,702.25. The COG approved funding for this project on April 1, 2019, and the county commission approved funding for the project June 5th of 2019. So they have submitted all the paperwork, invoices, et cetera, necessary with that project, and are just requesting reimbursement for that funding at this point.
Okay, I entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we reimburse Perry for CPF 19-03 from Maddox Lane.
Second it.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, a second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the second one there is CPF 19-04. So this was another project from 2019 from Perry City. This one is for Commerce Way, again, another acquisition project. And this one is for $229,910.75. Again, this one was approved by the COG on April 1st, 2019, and the County Commission on June 5th, 2019. As well, they've submitted all the necessary paperwork, invoices, et cetera, associated with that project. And those have been reviewed and is ready for reimbursement.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we reimburse Perry City for CPF 19-04 for Commerce Way.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
No subdivisions, no nothing today? Wow.
Next week.
Next week. 2 weeks. Want me to get a bigger chair?
What?
Chair.
Seen you looking at it.
Cody Elam, Facilities Manager, Building Official. I have 2 items. These are in response to Tremont City's inspector retiring. And so we have an agreement for the services of building inspections for these 2 cities. Steve and Annie's looked over these contracts. I'm not sure, can they sign them tonight or?
Can do, we subject to the change that you and I talked about.
Okay, so it was just some of the fees, the contract just didn't make the sense it should have, so just what they pay us back. We have the same contract for Honeyville, for Bear River City, so we're just using that same contract for these other entities, so.
So if you make a motion, we want to do it pending.
Yeah, the change, I can just put it on the record, the change is in paragraph 4. It talks about 75% of building permit fee and 100% of building permit fee. The second building permit fee should actually be building review.
Yeah, plan check fee.
Plan check fee.
Plan check fee.
Okay.
And then also the 60% on commercial permits, that should be 60% plan review for commercial.
That's correct.
So I think you could approve it subject to those changes being
Okay.
made.
I'd make some entertaining motion subject to those changes.
So moved. I'd move that we approve 2308 with those changes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
I got a motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor? Aye. One more.
One more. That was for Corinne.
That was from Corinne. This
Yep.
is now for Hal.
This is for Howell. Yep. Booming town of Howell.
Hey, Howell's the largest landmass city
It's
in the
huge.
state.
It is huge. It's a big place.
And I learned something from our emergency manager. That is the location of the largest earthquake
Right.
in Utah history as well.
Really?
Six,
It's
Sansel Valley, 6.2.
To make sure.
So we're not going to put our building out in
No,
Hansel
we're not
Valley.
gonna put the building here. But, absolutely.
So same thing?
Yep.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the interlocal cooperative agreement 23-09 Fox Water County and Altown for building inspection services with the approved changes.
Second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't know if we have any other, there's still quite a few cities that are left,
Holding the bag.
so I don't know.
Are they just hoping interest rates keep rising and they don't have?
I don't know what
anybody?
they're doing, so hopefully this will be the last time. I don't know, maybe.
And honestly, you probably ought to look with Jenica to see if we maybe somebody would actually come to work with us and try to get some things to have another inspector for a while or something to that effect. Maybe we could find somebody that was retired that only wanted to do it part-time.
There is a huge demand for inspectors right now. I mean, they've got multiple areas that
Right.
Tremont City had to go to a third party. They couldn't find a replacement
That's what
for
I heard.
Steve, so we'd have a hard time finding someone.
Okay.
So
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, Cody.
Mr. D.
Darren McFarland, Box Elder County Road Department. We had a request for a speed evaluation on, it is 11,800 or 11,080 north and also 86 or 1,600 west, 5,600 west for us. It comes off Tremont.
It says 10,800.
10,800, is that not correct?
So it should see 11,600,
11,880 north,
11,800 north. Okay.
11,080,
11,080.
Like 11,080.
11,080, I believe is what it is.
So for those of us that don't have all the roads memorized,
So
Where is
if you were to go to the crossroads and go west on Main Street, it's maybe a mile. There's a road that turns and goes back south and it has a 90-degree bend and comes back to
Yeah,
Highway
down by Clayton
13.
Grover's
Clayton
place.
Grover. Yep,
So there's a short portion on the north end of what is our 5,600 west that's Tremont City. And so we did the sheriff's department set out their equipment to do a traffic study or a traffic count, sorry. We turned that information into our engineer and their traffic engineer did the engineer study to do warrant a traffic speed reduction. That they recommend we reduce it to 40 miles an hour. That was from the traffic count from the information the sheriff's department set out. That's kind of the average speed that was being used there.
so what
currently.
has it been? Has it been?
So it was a
59?
not
No,
posted,
It's
yeah,
not posted, so it's 55.
Oh,
which reverts back to 55, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's probably kind of fast.
yeah, well, and they've got that huge subdivision, 2 subdivisions down there now that's got probably 40 homes?
Yeah. That
Besides
borders
that?
Tremont County there, yeah. So with your permission, we will install some speed limit signs that will be posted at 40 miles an hour.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the road department change the speed limit on 11,000 or whatever number that road is.
1108.
1108
Yep.
north. As requested.
Second it.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, and a second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I almost said Hadfield. I'm still not. My tongue tied.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jenica.
Okay, I have a few things. The first one is policy 7. And this originally had been a correction for just the holidays to say 14 instead of 12, but we've had some things come up in the last few days. So if you're going to approve a policy change, we might as well just get it all done at once, save your time. So I worked with Annie on this one. It has to do with the holidays and when we pay them and when we don't. So it's under section 7.5. And then we also added a little bit more information about the leave without pay policy and what happens when an employee requests extended leave that isn't medical. So in the past, we've had some employees who take like a year leave of absence to go work in Iraq or do different sorts of things. So this would cover educational pursuits, study, travel, or other reasons at the discretion of the elected official or department head and with my approval. And then if it's more than 30 days, it requires your approval in addition to ours. So it does say that if it's for FMLA, it falls under the FMLA policy instead of this policy. And then there's just a few other little minor changes where we moved things and included those in the current changes. And so we took them out of where they were.
Okay.
So that's.
Let me make sure on that one, just as I'm reading through that. I'm seeing no benefits, et cetera, in that with leave without pay. So leave without pay also affects their benefits at that time as well, right?
It does. Yep.
So they can't, so if they're like specifically for those who are in URS for, they will not get retirement credit
Correct.
for that year that they're separated.
Stops.
Yep.
Correct.
So they get, there's no break-in service, but the
Right.
time doesn't count.
Right.
Right. We won't be paying to URS during that time. They're not going to get credit for it. Right. So just.
If they have paid leave, we will. If they say they want to use vacation for 30 days, then they will. But if it's unpaid leave, they will not
That's
receive
fine.
retirement credit.
I want to make sure I clarify that. Okay.
Correct.
Need a motion on that one?
Yes, please.
Make a motion to accept the changes in policy number
7.
7.
I'll second it.
I got a motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor?
Aye.
Then the next thing I have is an early HSA payment agreement. I reviewed it and I don't have any issues with it. But if you want to discuss the name of the individual, we'll have to go into closed session to do that.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion unless you want to talk about it in the closed session.
I'd like to talk about it in full session, make sure I
Okay.
understand it.
Then we'll have to just come back out and
Yeah.
do it before. Okay.
Do I have anything else besides?
Nope, that's it. You had the
Yes.
Gallagher we tabled. Just, have you got your,
Yep, I've got it right here.
okay. And then warrant register. What's that? Oh, I think I can sign them now. And then I'd entertain a motion to go into an RDA. Is it up there?
Where's the RDA at? We have it. Where's it at?
Commissioner Summers, I had my head down, was looking at my phone. Did you just say RDA,
RDA?
like the redevelopment?
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna go into an RDA right now. We just have one.
Would you like me to say?
Yeah, you can, it's
I'll make a
nothing
motion to
huge.
go into RDA.
Let's wait till we get done signing that and then we can. Oh, we must have done something wrong. Marla just texted me.
Okay.
I think she was surprised I remembered. Well, what do you know? So when we go through these and have them send it to you compared to what you did in Honeyville, your eyes just bulge.
Hey, we had a system.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying about like the amounts. I mean, just, yeah, I just. Got to pay the bills. Promise I'm not contagious.
That's okay.
Just hoping I had some blood pressure medicine. It's like Sahara Desert. Marla's used to me not dating them. I've been pretty good lately. I think it was just three. 3, 4. Yep, you got it. It's a pretty sunset going on out there. Against the old Wellsvilles. Okay, I got a motion by Commissioner Perry. And a second by Commissioner Bingham to go into an RDA.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're gonna call the RDA meeting on March 1st, 2023. The first item is the RDA minutes. If you've had a chance to, it was from 01/25/23 is the last time we had an RDA.
Yep, I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes from 1/25 of 2023.
I'll second it.
I got a motion by Commissioner Perry and a second by Commissioner Bingham. All in favor?
Aye.
And the reason we came in here is because we're putting money from our RDA into that Bear River funding for the Bear River water.
Research for the.
Research.
Bear-
The economic benefits of the Bear
Yes.
River system, right?
Yeah.
And what did we tell them? You tell me, I can't remember. I think we said
15,000.
15,000. Okay, thanks. Good memory. So we'll be able to send that to them and they'll finish off that project. So some of the things that I think they'll be surprised of how much more economic development we do with that water than what everybody else thinks we do with that water. So I can't wait to see that thing come out. So I'd entertain a motion for the funding for the economic development study of the Bear River system.
I'll make a motion that we fund the study for the economic benefits of the Bear River system
For 15,000.
for 15,000.
We'll fund our portion.
Yes.
I would accept that as, I'd second that.
Okay. I got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn from the RDA.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Perry, second by Commissioner Hatfield. Yeah, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're gonna go back into our regularly scheduled business meeting. And I'd entertain a motion to go into a closed session to discuss pending litigation, personnel, and so on, so forth. Is there anything else?
I'll make a motion that we go into a closed session.
So second.
To discuss pending litigation and personnel. I got a motion by Commissioner Bingham, second by Commissioner Perry. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everybody.